The judges ruled against Joey Aguilar, and the Tennessee Vols need a quarterback. Let's talk about Faizon Brandon, why he is so dynamic that he can be the starter for the Vols, even though he's a true freshman.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day, each and every day, right here on the nation's #1 sports podcasting network, Locked On. We are brought to you by those friends of ours over at Mazda. We put the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work that defines you. Stay tuned for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. There's more to a Mazda because there is more to you. We're going to be discussing the Vols' expectations. What's going to happen now that Joey Aguilar, the leading yardage passer in the SEC during this past regular season, will no longer be in Knoxville? Is it going to be George MacIntyre? Is it going to be Ryan Staub? Or my pick, Faizon Brandon? Those expectations, regardless of which one of those three, they probably need to come down, but will they? Why or why not? I want to get into that a little bit later on in the show. Faizon Brandon's best traits. I'm going to talk about him extensively throughout this show, but I have a list of questions that I want to go through and explain to people why I think he can be the guy. Now, maybe not from game one, but we'll get into his traits a little bit later in the show, and he is unique. But above all else, let's talk about the ruling and why it changes how people look at the transfer portal, Tennessee, the SEC. There's a broad spectrum, and if you take nothing else from it, remember, this is still Tennessee. I know they don't have a quarterback, but do not take the Vols lightly, because if it's Faizon Brandon or anybody else, they are capable of beating anybody, and here's why. You're bringing in Jim Knowles. He's one of the top defensive minds in college football. He will be your defensive coordinator. The quarterback track record under Josh Heupel has been elite. Do not discount Tennessee just because of those two factors alone. You're going to bring back, listen to these two as far as receivers. You've got Braylon Staley and you have Mike Matthews. Staley last year, 68 catches, 837 yards, 6 scores. Mike Matthews, 53 receptions, 813 yards, and 4 more scores. They're both back. They have a 1,000-yard rusher. They have one of the most veteran offensive lines in the league. That's a great start. And then on the other side, they bring in Xavier Gillum. They're going to bring in guys across the board. Their secondary got players. They're bringing in Knowles. If anybody sleeps on Tennessee, I'm telling you, any given game, they can give teams a fit. Now, it is my prediction that eventually Faizon Brandon will assume the quarterback role. Will it be game one? I'm not sure. He's a young man that has the physical traits to at least, keyword, at least, be the starter this year. And he is going to be in an advantage because Tennessee's offense is not as complex as, say, well, the other side of the ball. Jim Knowles' defense is complex. There's no way around that. But Heupel's scheme, they've used freshmen before. They've used redshirt freshmen before. He was a part of those UCF teams that did so well. He was a part of some of the teams that were really good when Heupel was like at Oklahoma. Like anything that he's done, he's used that system everywhere. And they've just completely changed the game on expectations for year one because they don't make it so complex. They've used the wide splits. You need a quarterback with an arm, definitely. And whether it's George MacIntyre, whether it's Faizon Brandon or Ryan Staub, those guys will have to throw to the outside, but they wouldn't be in the FBS if they couldn't. And again, you've got guys to go get it. You've got the offensive line to protect you. So those are good traits. I think Tennessee will be a tough out. I'm not expecting them to make the playoff. We'll get into the whole Vols expectations, as I noted earlier, a little later in the show. But this is a team that you can't jack around with. To that end, I want to kind of just talk about their schedule. I want to put this up now, and I also want to talk about it a little bit later on in the show as well. Here's the Vols schedule for this year. Go into it. First game is against Furman. I would assume that won't be very difficult. They won't have the ability to stop UT's run game. They'll run for 256 and 3 scores or something like that. Fair enough. The second game is the one that's intriguing. It's Georgia Tech. The Vols will go to Bobby Dodd Stadium, but there won't be any Haynes King. There won't be any Buster Faulkner or Aaron Philo. Faulkner was the OC. He goes to Florida. Philo followed him down there. I'm not sure what's going on with the quarterback, the offensive line. They lost a lot of good players off this past year. Brinke's done a great job. If they can somehow win that game with a young quarterback, then they get Kennesaw State. After that, they play the Texas Longhorns at home. I don't expect that to go well, but at least by then you'll have 2 games against P4 opponents that have talent. Then anything is possible from that point forward. You could argue the most important game is, ironically, against the Auburn Tigers in Neyland, because former UT assistant and former coordinator Alex Golish will be leading that unit in there. They've got a good defense. The offense we need to see, but they've got a lot of pieces. 5 receivers come over with Byron Brown, the quarterback from USF, with Alex Golish. You can't get in a shootout per se, but the defense ought to be pretty good. This is the kind of game, if you're going to make any run at all, any chance whatsoever at making the playoff, it would have to be this game. You definitely win. You could lose the Texas game. Can't lose Auburn. They got Arkansas on the road, and then they get the third weekend in October. Every year, it's the big one. The University of Alabama will be in Neyland. That's where it gets really, really interesting, because if you somehow won like the Auburn, Arkansas, and Alabama games, then a few years ago, this was a disaster. They went to South Carolina the last time. They got blown out. Their quarterback blows his knee and the season was over. It would be Lenore Sellers and crew, and it's a really big year for that coaching staff across the board. They got to win. Sellers is probably in his last year as a Gamecock. And then you get an open date, Kentucky, A&M, LSU, Vandy down the stretch. So how does this work? How does this work? Like, is there a chance for this team to really move forward? I want to know what you think about it. Please comment in the chat, and I'll get to the comments as we go through the show. But what is this going to look like? Is this going to be a team that is going to be dynamic? I don't know. I think it's possible. And after the break, I want to break down. I've seen Faizon play 3-4 times. I want to see what he can do. But keep in mind, again, simplistic offense, elite level talent. We're going to break down Faizon Brandon, why I think he can help the Vols possibly change what people think after they found out the news that Joey Aguilar was not going to be the quarterback for the Vols. That is next right here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Indeed, where hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right fit with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs is the move, because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with qualified candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, skills, certifications, location, and even experience. Maybe you want it to be a combination. They will work with you at Indeed. And with Indeed sponsored jobs, your posts get seen by candidates who are actually a fit. Again, they're going to make it work for you and saving you time and money so you can actually work instead of worrying about trying to go through resumes. And here's a great way to look at it from a snapshot. In the roughly minute that I'm going to be speaking with you, 27 hires on average are made by Indeed worldwide. Listeners of this show will also receive $75 in sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves as Indeed.com/podcast. Again, that's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring. Do it the right way with Indeed. Today's show is also brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward for those who show there's more to the score than what's on your screen. Faizon Brandon, somebody I'm going to be talking about here in the next few moments on the Portal Podcast. And to be honest, it was a pleasure having the opportunity to cover him over the last few years. Future 50 at Under Armour events, seeing him at Elite 11, always respectful, always a guy that was happy to do an interview with a smile. And he's the kind of person that Vols fans are probably just going to love being around. He put in the work to be a great player, but he's just as good a young man off the field. That is always a great thing. These types of situations remind us of what it takes to raise the bar. It's that extra work off the field, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and I never quit. We put that same passion into every model, highlights that make the real. What it took to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there is more to you. Today's show is also a very important reminder that you can check out the Everydayer Club in the link down below. $5 a month or $50 for the year. You can get your audio feed with no ads. That's right, $5 a month or $50 for the year. Check out the Everydayer Club in the link down below. It will also describe all the good stuff going on in the Discord. I just posted about this podcast, having this great opportunity to discuss Faizon Brandon. You can go meet people from all around the country and the world at the Discord here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, here is my definition of why Faizon Brandon is such a special player. Again, I've been blessed to see him play numerous times. He adjusts quickly. Some of the drills, if you will, or the main drills that you go through, everybody just rotates at an Elite 11 camp. He wasn't as familiar with going into his junior year. The first time through, he was okay. The second time they would do it, didn't matter what it was, you could immediately see progression. Faizon Brandon is not a normal high school player, even at that age, and he's a couple years from that. I expect him to be elite in many different ways, but the most important one is his mental capacity. He sees something, it doesn't go well, he will find a fix and in a hurry. Secondarily, he is a sponge in terms of just enjoying the game, but he's also like a rubber band in terms of what he's able to do with it. That knowledge that he picks up, he is as flexible, as gifted, as unusual as it will come in terms of a guy that can roll left and throw with his right arm. He's a right-handed quarterback. Different angle on just about any given play to make it happen. He can throw a laser. He'll sometimes layer it over the linebacker, whatever it may be. Faizon Brandon can do that. And he's shown it consistently. Again, he did it at Future 50. It's an elite invite-only camp every year that probably my favorite event of the year. Held at IMG Academy. He was there at that. He was dominant. Any event that there's been, no matter the level of competition, he adjusts, both mentally and physically. And finally, it is the X factor. Because of Brandon's athleticism, he can beat you with his legs, whether it's just extending the play, or whether it is taking off and getting that 7 yards and annoying the defense, picking up a 3rd and 5 when there didn't seem to be an option because everybody was covered. He'll beat the first guy one-on-one. He'll be able to run over a guy if he wants. He's 6'3", 200 plus. And at the end of the day, he's just smart. Again, with the football, he knows what he's doing. He only had a handful of interceptions over the last 2 years of high school football, winning state championships. Smart kid, absorbs well, and he's a freak athlete. He's what you're looking for. So to that end, here are a few of the things that I wanted to ask. And again, if you're in the chat, fire away. If you have questions later, fire away as well. But what is his best trait? Number one, probably just his ability to process information. I don't think that's really that difficult to understand. If you're going to make it to the ultimate level, the National Football League, eventually you have to be able to take something, even if it's on the fly in a game, you're like, man, I've never seen that. Talk with your coach, go back out the next series and attack it. There isn't just, oh, we'll get it at halftime. No. You need to be able to adjust during the first half before that happens. Secondarily, arm talent from Faizon Brandon, it's tremendous. Deep ball underneath, changing arm angles, it doesn't matter. He makes it happen. Already mentioned how he's a capable runner, but he's also one that if you have a run gap fit that's wrong, he'll go 70 for a score. Absolutely. He can run over you if he needs to, and he's a guy that can make you miss kind of like a wide receiver. He could have played wide receiver or free safety, no question. Number 4, how quickly can Brandon fully operate Tennessee's scheme? This is probably the most difficult question and the one that I'm most fascinated by. As noted multiple times already, it's not the most complex offense to operate. However, you still have to be able to understand what's going on with the defenses. It's more about what they're doing against you than anything else, because teams are going to try to show post-snap coverage changes that will probably lead to at least a few interception opportunities for opponents. But I bet you that he's going to figure it out. And by the time they get done with that South Carolina game, they have a bye week, and then they go into the back half of the schedule. I think the Vols will have a quarterback that's pretty much running the offense. Again, it's my expectation that he'll eventually beat George MacIntyre out and Ryan Staub. Maybe he even does it game one. I don't know. But I think he has too much talent not to be the guy at some point this upcoming season. Number 5, even if he is not the starter early on, is it plausible for Tennessee to have packages that he uses? Absolutely. Absolutely. Runner, he is definitely far more mobile than George. George can do some things, but he's not a guy that's going to go get you a 30-yard run. The packages for Brandon could be there, and maybe they kind of start that way, even if he is the starter. Limit the playbook, make it a little bit easier for him, let him get his legs under him figuratively and literally, and then he kind of goes from there. 6, and finally, at the beginning of the season compared to the end of the schedule, what's he going to be like? I think you'll just see the confidence grow. He's a very grounded individual. He's a young man that is not going to force it. Faizon Brandon is somebody that's going to find a way, come hell, come high water, to make plays for his team, even if that means audibling out of a passing play because at the front they're showing is light in the box. Whatever it is, he will adjust. So I think there'll be some subtle changes, obviously, by the end of the year, but learning the scheme is part of it. I talked about this in number 4, but this is also time in the game, circumstance, playing on the road, understanding the personnel around him better as the season goes on. There are many different nuances that he's not going to understand in September that he might in November. Those 2 months will be a major, major part of his overall development at the University of Tennessee, because he's going to be under fire to start if he's not the quarterback in game 1, because he has the most upside. We'll see. But again, I'm betting on Faizon Brandon to be that guy, and I think a lot of other people should be as well. He's a great kid, and he's got all the talent in the world. Let's get into the chat a little bit, have some fun. Katie goes back to how do some of these players get 69 years to play 4 and others don't. 5 years to play 4 just works fine. Katie's talking about what's going on with the whole situation. I'm not trying to go down the rabbit hole too much, but the whole Joey Aguilar situation, it's wild. I don't know how he could have gotten another year. And to be clear, the judge was a Tennessee grad and a local one in Knox County, right down the road from the University of Tennessee, and he still ruled against it. I give that guy a lot of credit because I'm sure he's probably getting death threats and everything else from Vols fans. That's how crazy fans can be, but that's my guess, and he still ruled against it. I don't know, Katie, 9 years or whatever. He came in 2019. That was his first year. So this would be his 8th year of football to play for. Come on. At some point, you got to go on. Katie, I can't see Tennessee ever getting back to the power they once were. Tennessee's politics would be enough to keep me away. Well, that's part of it, but everybody's got their opinion on that stuff, especially with their NIL. It's interesting, but they got the money. They got a great location. It's interesting to see how that would work. Katie, I'll never buy the logic that players are denied opportunities to earn NIL as an argument. You go to school to get a degree, the money comes from that. Katie, anytime you have a quick processor and a guy that extends drives with his legs, it's a definite plus. Brandon fits all of that. He absolutely does. I don't think there are many guys that are better, and he might be the best overall prospect in the class of 26. You could certainly argue it. And part of it is not just the processing, it's what he does with it. Sometimes it's better to extend the play and throw it, even if you got 5 yards. That's obvious. Be patient, keep your eyes down the field, and make a play. Faizon Brandon will do that. I've seen him operate multiple times. He's a kid that if you give him a little bit of room, more than you should, he's going to beat you almost every single time. When we come back, I want to talk about the expectations. This is hard, man. It's really, really hard. There aren't a whole lot of people that understand just how difficult it really is to be in a booster's shoes right now. You donate all this money, but Aguilar is not coming back. Do you change or adjust in any way, shape, or form what your expectations for wins and losses are? Let's talk about that next right here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show was brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. If you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person, here's your chance. FanDuel is giving you, the fan, the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win in the NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, 2 people, flights, tickets, the entire experience. If you love futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab a conference title, it adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch of the NBA season. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Expectations are always a difficult thing to understand. Fan is also short for fanatic, and we're combining those. If you're a booster, though, somebody that really donated over the last, say, 2 to 3 years, you thought this was going to be the year, but then that injunction doesn't work out. Joey Aguilar moves on. And again, I think Faizon Brandon is going to be good, but they're not going to be a national title contender with the true freshman. I'm not a fool. How do fans change their expectations? Because they're probably going to win a game or two that you didn't expect, and probably going to lose a game or two you didn't expect. I'm not sure what people think about betting on the Vols in general, but of all years, this would be the one that would be the most topsy-turvy, I would assume, because you're going to have a freshman or a redshirt freshman as your starting quarterback, most likely, unless the outside chance of Staub being the quarterback, and he's played in 10 games in 3 years. In the last 2 passes he threw for Colorado were both picks. I'm going with one of the other 2. So what do you think the expectations are, and what should they be? Because now I could see FanDuel making their over-under total pretty simple. Be just like 7.5. Leave it there because, again, their schedule, I'll throw it back up here. It's not the easiest in the world. It's not terrible, but it's not easy either. So again, Furman at Georgia Tech, Kennesaw State. Even if you started 2-1, that wouldn't necessarily be terrible. You got to get your quarterback going regardless. But you got to win one of those next 2 at minimum, and it's Texas and Auburn. They're both inside Neyland. That's not easy. Then you go to Arkansas, your rival, your bitter rival from all time pretty much in college football. You got Bama at home. You got at South Carolina. Like, there's no easy game those next 5. Then you get an open date, kind of, circle the wagons regardless of how the season's going. And then your final 4 games are Kentucky, at Texas A&M, LSU, at Vanderbilt. Are they going to win 8 games? I would say 7-5 is more likely, but I think somewhere in there they'll beat either Alabama, or they'll beat A&M, or they'll beat LSU. Right now, I would bet on that. If you said, Brian, create a bet on FanDuel, Alabama, A&M, LSU, will they win at least one of those 3? I would bet yes. Why? They've got good defensive talent, and when a quarterback gets hot, a quarterback gets hot. Anything is possible. Kentucky or Vanderbilt, maybe one of those teams beat Tennessee. I wouldn't pick it, but it wouldn't shock me. That's the other side of the coin. So what should the expectations be for a team that honestly, not many people know what to think now because the quarterback is undecided at best? Like, they're completely wide open here. What do you think? It's not something that I would want to be in charge of trying to set the number, by the way, if I was FanDuel. To that end, we've got another comment or 2. We got Jaw Jackin 6513. We weren't going to win a title with Joey. You're crazy if you think so. I never said they were going to win a title. Let me be clear. I just think they can beat anybody on the schedule any given week. However, I don't know if they're going to be able to be consistent. That's something I think is difficult. Arkansas is not our all-time rival. Yeah, as a bitter rival, I didn't say all-time. It's Alabama. Be careful. I know that they're an all-time, big-time rival. They have for a long time. Katie, do quick processors in college generally have higher NFL Wonderlic scores, or is that a different thing altogether? Quarterbacks like Matthew Stafford comes to mind. That's a great question. Matthew played at a high school program in Dallas that was he was trained to be a quarterback his whole life, all of that. I don't know, but he seems like a really bright guy. Maybe Matthew has always been that person that is just good at taking tests. Like, I don't think Lawrence Taylor is going to score the highest on standardized tests, but he could dissect a play. Sometimes football is just different. I don't think test scores necessarily translate to the opportunity to look at the draft, Wonderlic score. There's some different things with that, but it's been all over the map. Katie, UT can still win 9. I think that's possible. I think they could, but my guess is they'll win 7, maybe 8. One injury here or there, like Staley, somebody like that gets hurt at receiver. Maybe Matthews does. Maybe one of the running backs gets hurt. Maybe an offensive lineman. The littlest thing could set that in the wrong direction. Right now, we don't even know their quarterback, and even if we did, injuries will be a part of their season. And for those that don't know, Jim Knowles' defense is not the friendliest to learn. If they have any attrition on the defensive side of the ball, it's difficult, very, very difficult. Because if you think the Vols are going to go through that schedule with the first-year coordinator and not have at least one game where the other team just figures it out against their you're probably mistaken. It's the SEC. Like, Arch might figure it out. This is his 4th year in Austin. Probably going to be pretty good. So with that, you never know. Katie, if they win 7, a seat going to get hot. I agree. But is that justified? I think it's just really hard to figure out. User FS1BT8 YE4Q. I still would say this is a building with sights on next season. Yeah, probably. Like year 2 under Faizon Brandon, I would imagine, is going to be way different. Preseason top 10, Jim Knowles, 2nd year of his defense, 2nd year of a quarterback, probably. They should be preseason top 12, 2027, I would say. We're way too far to go, but yeah, I could see that. I could absolutely see that. And maybe Tennessee is a team that would have the opportunity to even win the SEC. I got to see Faizon play, got to see who they bring in the portal, all that stuff. But when you've got a guy like him behind center athletically and the gifts he has between the ears that can process, I think it's pretty easy to look at them as conservatively a top 5 team in the next year. So with that in mind, appreciate everybody stopping in, checking out the Portal Podcast. We do these each and every day during the week. Whenever I get a chance, we talk about football from a lot of different perspectives and have a lot of fun with it. Tennessee obviously is one of the mainstays historically in college football. I really enjoy covering their program. I have a show coming out on Wednesday with Eric Kane, discussing the Vols, having a good time with that. But everybody, please like and subscribe if you have not already. This has been the Portal Podcast live show. We will see you again soon.